Welcome to the second lecture for Unit 6. This lecture is on how to write social stories. You'll also find in this unit a worksheet to help you write social stories and some more information from a presentation by Carol Gray on, that will help you write more effective social stories. So first of all, what is a social story? They're developed and trademarked by Carol Gray in 1993. They're brief, individualized short stories that describe a social situation and provide specific behavioral response cues. So, what is the appropriate social response in a defined context through visual supports and text? There are some steps to writing a social story. First, you want to picture the goal. You want to share accurate social information and you want to describe more than direct. So, what is the issue here? What's the goal? Having a child, for example, share toys with friends. The next thing you want to do is you want to gather information by asking WH questions. Where does it happen? Who does it happen with? What's going on. You want to get as much information about what is going on. And a lot of information too, so that you can provide good description about that situation. Then you want to tailor the text. You want to use the perspective of the person. The behavioral responses that you want the individual to make should be written in positive language. You want to say what you want them to do. You don't talk about what you want them not to do. You want to use concrete and easy to understand text, and it can be enhanced by visual supports. For individuals who are younger or who are not reading, you want to rely far more on visuals and on text. You can also do audio recordings of these so that the individual can watch, for example, through a PowerPoint or on an iPad and actually go through the story themselves and it's narrated to them. Now, there's specific format that a social story follows, and it uses six specific types of sentences: descriptive sentences, perspective sentences, affirmative, directive, control, and cooperative. And I'm going to go ahead now and explain what each of those sentences are. Descriptive sentences probably are, you want to be using those the most in your social story. So they describe the social situation in terms of relevant social cues. When I go to school, there is time to play. There are lots of toys to play with during playtime. You can provide even more description than that. You want to keep it in somewhat short, understandable sentences, but you want to be describing as much as possible. You want to make that situation very clear. Perspective sentences describe the feelings and the responses of the student or others in the situation that you're talking about. So, for example, I like playing with toys. Kids may choose to play with the toy they like. Kids may play with toys together. You do want to make sure if you ever say I like and you're attributing a perspective to the individual, you want to make sure that is actually the perspective they have. So you wouldn't write I like playing with the toys if they don't, but you want them to. So you want to make sure that things that you're saying that they do or they like to do, that they in fact do that. Affirmative sentences express shared beliefs of a given culture. So something that the culture, and it could be the culture of the school, of the classroom, of the area as a whole, but they're shared beliefs that everybody believes. The student may not believe them themselves, but they are considered to be shared beliefs. So, for example, playtime is fun. Sharing toys is nice. Those are things that in a classroom, the shared culture tends to believe those things. Playtime is fun and that sharing is nice. Directive statements specify the appropriate behavioral response. I may play with toys by myself. I may play with toys with my friends. Control sentences are written for the target individual to help them recall and apply information. It helps them to know what to do. So, for example, during playtime, sometimes we need to share toys. If my friend wants to play with the toy I'm playing with, we can play with it together, or I can play with it for one more minute and then let my friend have a turn playing with the toy. Cooperative sentences give information about who will help or how that help will be given. So if they're having a problem, what they can do. So for example, when I feel sad during playtime, my teacher can help me to share or find a different toy for me to play with. That tells them what to do if they're experiencing a problem. Now, when you're writing a social story, there are actual ratios that you want to follow in terms of how the sentences are laid out. So for a basic social story, you're using 2 to 5 descriptive, perspective, or affirmative sentences for every directive sentence in the story. You want to err on the side of more description and less direction. So make sure you're providing a lot of description about what it is that you're giving a direction about. And then for a complete social story, that's when you add the cooperative, the control and directive sentences. And there you need 2 to 5 descriptive, affirmative, perspective sentences for, um, or cooperative sentences for every directive or control sentence in the story. Those are more complete social stories. They're usually used with individuals who are a little higher functioning as well. Some other guidelines, you want to make sure that the story is written in the present, or future tense. It's a story. It should have a title, it should have an introduction, a body, and a conclusion. You're using first or third person, I, or an individual's name. You never say you. And then if you're putting pictures or visuals in it, those pictures or visuals should have other individuals in it, other kids, other people. So you're actually conveying the social aspects of what's going on. It is a social story, it's not a behavior story. So you're telling about how to behave in a social situation and what that social situation is. So you always want to include other people so that that social situation is clear. So, finally, an example of a social story: sharing toys at playtime. When I go to school, there is time to play. There are lots of toys to play with during playtime. Playtime is fun. I like playing with the toys. I may play with toys by myself. Kids may choose to play with toys they like. Kids may play with toys together. I may play with toys with my friends. During playtime, sometimes we need to share toys. If my friend wants to play with a toy I'm playing with, we can play with it together, or I can play with it for one more minute and then let my friend have a turn playing with the toy. Sharing toys is nice. When I feel sad during playtime, my teacher can help me to share or find a different toy for me to play with. I hope this helps you with completing the activity and writing your own social stories.